While serving a table, the waitress froze when she saw the ring on the millionaire's finger. It was the same one her mother used to wear before she disappeared 30 years ago. Sarah Caldwell's fingers brushed against the smooth surface of her mother's photograph as she tucked it back into her pocket. The tiny, creased image was one of the few mementos she had of Carol Caldwell. That, and the replica emerald ring hanging from the thin chain around her neck. "Order up for table 12, Frank's raspy voice called from the kitchen. Cutting through the jazz music floating through Malone's diner, Sarah tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear and took a deep breath. Friday nights were always hectic, but tonight felt different. The air in the diner seemed heavier, charged with something she couldn't name. "You all right, honey?" Darlene asked, her lined face creasing with concern as she balanced 3 plates on her forearm. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," Sarah replied, flashing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just tired. End of the week, you know." Darlene nodded sympathetically. "Well, heads up. Frank says there's some big shot coming in tonight. Reserve the corner booth, some construction tycoon or something." Sarah grabbed her notepad and made her way to table 12, weaving between crowded tables with practiced ease. 8 years at Malone's had taught her how to navigate the chaos, how to smile through exhaustion, how to make enough in tips to help her grandmother with the rent. The bell above the door chimed, and Sarah glanced up. 2 men in tailored suits entered, scanning the diner with critical eyes. The older one, silver-haired with a face carved from stone, moved with quiet authority. Behind him, a younger man followed, his expression softer but equally watchful. "That's him," Darlene whispered as she passed. "William Thornton, owns half the buildings downtown. The younger one must be his nephew." William Thornton, even in her modest corner of Chicago. The name carried weight. His construction company had transformed the city skyline, though rumors of his ruthless business tactics were as towering as his buildings. "Table for Thornton," the younger man said to the host. "Reservation at 8. Sarah watched as they were led to the corner booth. Her section, she mentally rehearsed her greeting, putting on her professional smile as she approached the table. "Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Sarah, and I'll be your server tonight. Can I start you with something to drink?" William Thornton barely glanced up from the menu. "Scotch. Neat. Water with lemon for me," the younger man said, offering a polite smile. "I'm Tyler, by the way. Don't mind my uncle. Long day." Sarah nodded, jotting down their drink orders. That's when she saw it. A flash of green on William Thornton's right hand as he turned a page of the menu. She froze, her pen hovering over the notepad. On his ring finger was an emerald ring. Not just any emerald ring, but one with a distinctive setting. A square-cut stone surrounded by small diamonds and a vintage gold band. It was identical to the one her mother had worn in every photograph, the one Sarah had replicated and kept close to her heart for 28 years. "Miss," Tyler's voice seemed distant. "Is everything okay?" Sarah blinked, realizing she'd been staring. "Yes. Sorry, I'll get those drinks right away." She retreated to the bar, hands trembling slightly as she placed the order. It had to be a coincidence. Emerald rings weren't uncommon, but something about the way the light caught the stone. The unique setting. "Scotch neat and water with lemon," the bartender announced, sliding the drinks across the counter. Sarah's gaze drifted back to William Thornton. There was nothing remarkable about him at first glance, just another wealthy businessman in an expensive suit. But when he raised his hand to check his watch, the emerald caught the light again, sending a green flash across the table. Throughout the evening, Sarah found herself watching him, searching for clues in the way he spoke, the way he moved. He barely acknowledged her presence beyond ordering his meal, but Tyler made up for his uncle's coldness with friendly conversation and a generous tip. As they were finishing their meal, Sarah approached with the check. "Was everything to your satisfaction?" William looked up at her directly for the first time. His eyes were steel gray, assessing her with unexpected sharpness. "It was adequate. High praise from him," Tyler said with a good-natured eye roll. Sarah placed the check on the table, and as William reached for it, she got a closer look at the ring. Her breath caught. There, just visible on the inner band as he slipped his credit card into the leather folder, were 2 initials, CEEC, Carol Caldwell. The world seemed to tilt beneath her feet, the diner noises fading to a distant hum. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be the same ring. "Miss, the check." William's impatient voice cut through her shock. "Right. I'll be right back with your receipt." Sarah took the folder with numb fingers and walked to the register, her mind racing by the time she returned. William and Tyler were standing to leave. William barely acknowledged her as he pocketed his wallet, but Tyler thanked her warmly. She watched them go, the emerald ring gleaming under the diner lights as William pushed open the door. Later that night, in the small apartment she shared with her grandmother, Sarah pulled out the old wooden box where they kept what little remained of her mother's life. With trembling hands, she sifted through faded photographs, searching for confirmation of what she'd seen. There it was, her mother's high school graduation photo. Carol Caldwell, young and radiant, her hand raised to brush back her hair. The emerald ring clearly visible. Sarah compared it with the sketch she'd quickly drawn after the Thorntons left. The same setting, the same unusual cut of the stone. "What are you doing up so late?" Her grandmother stood in the doorway, her nightgown hanging loosely on her thin frame. "Gran, do you remember Mom's ring? The emerald one." Her grandmother's face softened with memory. Of course, it was her favorite. She never took it off, said it was her good luck charm. She shuffled closer, peering at the photographs spread across Sarah's bed. "Why do you ask?" Sarah hesitated. "I think I saw it tonight at the diner." "That's impossible." "Dear, it disappeared with her." "I know, but..." Sarah picked up another photograph, one she'd rarely examined closely before. It showed her mother at perhaps 22, standing in front of a lake. The picture was torn on one side, as if someone had been cut out of the frame. "Gran, was this torn when you got it?" Her grandmother took the photo, squinting at it. "Yes, it came like that in the last package she sent before." She trailed off, then shook her head. "Before we lost contact." Sarah stared at the torn edge, a suspicion forming. Who had been standing beside her mother, who had been removed from the frame? She dug deeper into the box, past birthday cards and handwritten letters, until she found an envelope she'd never opened before. Inside was another photograph, this one creased and water-damaged. It showed her mother, smiling nervously, standing beside a younger William Thornton. His arm was around her waist and on her finger. Catching the light was the emerald ring. Sarah's heartbeat pounded in her ears. "Gran," she whispered, "who is this man with Mom?" Her grandmother took the photo with shaking hands. She stared at it for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she sighed, a sound heavy with old grief. "That," she said quietly, "is someone I hoped you'd never have to know about." Sarah looked down at the photograph, at the man who now wore her mother's ring, and felt something shift inside her. After 28 years of questions without answers, she'd found a thread to pull, and she would pull it, no matter where it led. "Tell me everything," she said. "He was bad news from the start," Gran said, her fingers tracing the edge of the photograph. "William Thornton was already a rising star in Chicago back then. Your mother worked as a receptionist at his first office building downtown." Sarah leaned forward, hungry for every detail. For years, the subject of her mother had been like walking across thin ice, approached carefully, if at all. "She was so young," Gran continued, "just 23, and he was captivating, I suppose, powerful. Knew exactly what to say." She shook her head. "I only met him once. There was something cold about him, even when he smiled. And the ring, a gift. Your mother told me it was to celebrate their 6-month anniversary. Those initials, CC. I always thought they stood for Carol Caldwell. But maybe..." Gran's voice trailed off. "Maybe what? Maybe they meant something else to him." Sarah couldn't sleep that night, her mind racing with possibilities. By morning, she had made a decision. Radical, perhaps even foolish, but she couldn't ignore what she'd seen. 3 days later, Sarah stood at the gates of the Thornton estate, a forged reference letter in her purse and a pounding heart in her chest. The mansion loomed before her, austere and imposing against the pale October sky. "You must be Sarah Wilson," a stern-faced woman greeted her at the service entrance. "I'm Mrs. Peterson, the housekeeper." "Yes, ma'am," Sarah replied, adopting a slight southern accent to match her fake identity. "Thank you for considering me." "We're short-staffed since Maria left," Mrs. Peterson said, leading her through a maze of service corridors. "Mr. Thornton requires everything to be immaculate, no excuses." Sarah nodded, taking in the cold opulence around her. Everything seemed designed to intimidate. The soaring ceilings, the marble floors, the paintings of stern-faced men who must be Thornton ancestors. "You'll start in the East Wing," Mrs. Peterson instructed. "The family rarely uses those rooms, so it's a good place to see how you work. Tools are in the closet. Don't touch personal items. Don't enter rooms with closed doors. And don't disturb Mr. Thornton if you see him. He's been unwell lately." "Is it serious?" Sarah asked, trying to sound merely concerned rather than probing. Mrs. Peterson's expression tightened. "That's not our business to discuss." Left alone, Sarah moved methodically through the East Wing, dusting and polishing while mentally mapping the house. Every room felt like a museum, perfectly arranged but untouched by actual living. She worked diligently, maintaining her cover while keeping alert for anything useful. During her lunch break in the staff room, she met Ernest, the elderly driver who had worked for the Thorntons for over 30 years. With his stooped shoulders and world-weary eyes, he seemed out of place in the mansion's sterile perfection. "First day's always the hardest," he offered, sliding into the chair across from her. "You'll get used to the quiet. This place hasn't had much life in it for years." "Has Mr. Thornton always lived alone?" Sarah asked casually. Ernest studied her face for a moment. "Not always, but for a long time now." Before she could press further, Mrs. Peterson appeared in the doorway. "Ernest, Mr. Thornton needs his medication from the pharmacy. And Sarah, when you're finished, the main study needs dusting. Be careful with the books. They're first editions." The study was located in the West Wing, closer to the family's private quarters. Sarah entered cautiously, taking in the mahogany bookshelves, the leather chair positioned by the fireplace, the heavy desk that dominated the room. This space felt different. Used, lived in, William Thornton's sanctuary. She dusted methodically, working her way around the room until she reached the desk. Unlike the rest of the house, this surface showed signs of actual use. A half-empty cup of tea, papers arranged in neat stacks, a silver letter opener, and a drawer, slightly ajar, with a key still in the lock. Sarah glanced toward the door. The hallway beyond remained silent, holding her breath. She eased the drawer open wider. Inside lay a leather-bound journal and several folders labeled with dates stretching back 30 years. She was about to reach for the earliest one when a voice froze her in place. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" Sarah whirled around to find Tyler Harrison standing in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest. He looked different from the night at the diner, more formal in a tailored suit, his friendly demeanor replaced by cool suspicion. I'm sorry," she stammered, heart racing. "I was just dusting, and the drawer was open. I didn't touch anything." Tyler's eyes narrowed as he stepped into the room. "You look familiar." Sarah quickly averted her gaze, focusing on her dusting cloth. "I don't think we've met before, sir." "Strange. I rarely forget a face." He moved closer, studying her. "You started today." "Yes, sir. And your name is?" "Sarah. Sarah Wilson." The lie felt thick on her tongue. "Well, Sarah Wilson, my uncle values his privacy above all else. I suggest you remember that if you want to keep this job." At that moment, the sound of a car pulling up outside drew Tyler's attention. "That'll be my uncle returning from his doctor's appointment. I should go meet him." Sarah nodded, relief washing over her as Tyler turned to leave. But at the doorway, he paused and looked back. "The waitress," he said suddenly, "from Malone's diner. That's where I've seen you." Sarah's blood ran cold. "I'm sorry, sir." Tyler's expression shifted from suspicion to certainty. "You served us dinner last week. Uncle William and me. You were our waitress. You must be mistaking me for someone else," Sarah insisted, struggling to keep her voice steady. "I've never worked at a diner." Tyler studied her for a long moment, unconvinced. "My mistake, then," he finally said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "Finish up in here and move on to the library." When he left, Sarah exhaled shakily. Her cover was already in jeopardy, and she'd barely started. She needed to be more careful. Later that afternoon, as she dusted the library shelves, Sarah observed William Thornton for the first time in his home environment. From her position behind a tall bookcase, she watched him settle into a wheelchair pushed by Ernest. The powerful man from the diner now looked diminished, his complexion ashen, his movements stiff and pained. "That will be all, Ernest," he said, his voice still carrying that edge of authority despite his weakened state. "Your medicine, sir," Ernest reminded him gently, placing pill bottles on the side table. "Later." William waved him away. Once alone, William withdrew an object from his pocket. The emerald ring. He turned it in his fingers, the green stone catching the light for a moment. His severe expression softened into something like regret. Then, hearing footsteps approaching, he quickly returned the ring to his pocket and straightened in his chair. Tyler entered, carrying a stack of documents. "The board approved the downtown project," he reported. "Construction begins next month." "And the old properties?" William asked. "Being cleared as we speak." William nodded, satisfied. "Good. What about our other matter?" Tyler's voice dropped. "The house by the lake is secure. No changes." Sarah's ears perked up. What house? What were they hiding? As day faded into evening, Sarah finished her duties and prepared to leave, her mind buzzing with questions in the staff room. She found Ernest gathering his things. "First day survive you?" he asked with a kind smile. "Barely," she admitted truthfully. "This place is intense." Ernest chuckled. "The Thorntons have always had a flair for the dramatic, been that way for generations." As they walked toward the service exit together, Sarah gathered her courage. "Ernest, you've worked here a long time, right? You must know all the Thornton secrets." The old man's smile faded slightly. "Everyone has secrets, Miss Wilson. Some are better left buried." Something in his tone made Sarah wonder if he knew more than he let on. About William. About her mother. About why a powerful man would keep a memento from a long-lost lover. "See you tomorrow," Ernest said as they parted ways at the gate. Sarah nodded, but in her mind, tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Somewhere in that cold mansion lay the truth about her mother's disappearance, and she was determined to find it, no matter the cost. Over the next few days, Sarah established a routine at the Thornton mansion. She arrived early, performed her assigned tasks meticulously, and used every opportunity to search for information about her mother. Tyler's suspicion meant she had to be exceptionally careful. One wrong move, and she'd lose her only connection to the truth. On her third day, Mrs. Peterson assigned her to clean the rarely used guest rooms in the north wing. Sarah worked efficiently, wanting to finish early so she could explore more important areas of the house. As she dusted a dresser in the last room, she noticed a small tear in the floral wallpaper behind it. Curious, she peeled it back slightly to reveal what appeared to be a door. Heart racing, Sarah pushed the heavy dresser aside. The door was narrow, painted to blend with the wall, with a small brass knob that turned with a soft click. Beyond lay a cramped stairway leading upward. "The old servants' passages," a voice explained. Making Sarah jump, Ernest stood in the doorway, watching her with an unreadable expression. "I'm sorry," Sarah said quickly. "I noticed the tear, and no need to apologize." Ernest stepped into the room, closing the main door behind him. "This house is full of secrets, some architectural, some..." He trailed off, glancing at the hidden door. "That leads to the attic. Nothing special up there, just old furniture and memories gathering dust." Sarah nodded, relieved he wasn't upset. This place must have seen a lot of history, more than most care to remember. Ernest's weathered face softened. "You seem very curious about this house." "Miss Wilson," Sarah tensed, "just trying to learn my way around. And about Mr. Thornton himself." Ernest raised an eyebrow. "I've noticed your interest?" Caught off guard, Sarah fumbled for a response. "He's my employer. I should know who I'm working for." Ernest studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "Be careful with your curiosity, Miss Wilson. In this house, questions have consequences." After he left, Sarah contemplated the hidden staircase. "Nothing special," Ernest had said, but his warning suggested otherwise. Making a quick decision, she slipped through the door and climbed the narrow stairs. The attic was vast and shadowy, illuminated only by thin beams of light filtering through small windows. Furniture draped in sheets created ghostly silhouettes. Boxes and trunks lined the walls, labeled with dates reaching back decades. Sarah moved carefully between the relics of Thornton family history. Most boxes contained mundane items, old clothing, holiday decorations, financial records. Then she spotted something different. A cherry wood chest with ornate carvings, tucked behind a stack of larger crates. Unlike the other containers, this one had no label. It also had no lock. Sarah lifted the lid slowly, revealing a collection of photo albums and loose photographs. The first album contained formal family portraits. William with an older couple who must be his parents. William graduating from college. William breaking ground on his first building project. The second album was different. These photos were more personal, less posed, and in many of them was a young woman with dark hair and a familiar smile. Carol Caldwell. Sarah's breath caught. Her mother looked vibrant, laughing in most shots. Here she was on a boat, wind blowing her hair, there leaning against a sports car, in another, seated at a restaurant with William, their hands intertwined on the table. In every photo where her hands were visible, the emerald ring gleamed on her finger. Footsteps on the main staircase sent Sarah scrambling to replace everything. She had just closed the chest when she heard a voice call out, "Hello? Is someone up here? Tyler?" Sarah looked frantically for a hiding place, but it was too late. He appeared at the top of the stairs, surprise registering on his face when he saw her. "Miss Wilson, I thought I heard movement." His eyes narrowed. "The attic is strictly off limits to staff." "I'm so sorry, Mr. Harrison," Sarah said, trying to sound contrite. "I was cleaning the north guest room and found the passage. I got curious." "Curiosity seems to be a habit of yours." Tyler approached slowly, glancing at the chest behind her. "First my uncle's desk drawer, now the attic. One might think you're looking for something specific." Sarah forced a nervous laugh. "Just exploring. Old houses fascinate me." "Do they?" Tyler stopped directly in front of her. "Or is it the people who live in them?" There was something in his tone, not just suspicion, but a hint of genuine curiosity. Sarah decided to risk a partial truth. "I've always been drawn to stories," she admitted. "Places like this, families like yours, they have such rich histories." Tyler's expression softened slightly. "The Thornton history isn't as glamorous as it appears. Every dynasty has its shadows. Even yours, especially ours." He sighed, then gestured toward the stairs. "You should go, if my uncle found you up here." Sarah nodded and moved toward the exit. But as she passed Tyler, her necklace caught on a protruding nail. The chain snapped, sending the replica emerald ring tumbling to the floor with a revealing ping of metal. Tyler's eyes widened as he looked from the ring to Sarah's face. She quickly scooped it up, but the damage was done. He'd seen it clearly. "That ring," he said slowly. "It looks exactly like my uncle's." Sarah clutched the ring tightly, mind racing for an explanation. "It's just costume jewelry, a gift from my grandmother. May I see it?" Reluctantly, Sarah handed it over. Tyler examined it carefully, noting the similar design, the green stone, even the attempt to recreate the initials inside the band. "This is a replica," he stated, not a question. "Why would you have a copy of my uncle's ring?" Sarah remained silent, heart pounding. Tyler's eyes narrowed again, pieces clicking into place. "You're not here to clean. Who are you, really?" "Sarah Wilson. And what do you want with my uncle?" The moment stretched between them. Taut with tension, Sarah realized her cover was blown. She could continue lying, but something in Tyler's expression, a hint of compassion beneath the suspicion, made her reconsider. "My real name is Sarah Caldwell," she finally said, taking a deep breath. "And I think your uncle might know what happened to my mother." Tyler stared at her for a long moment, processing this revelation. "Caldwell," he repeated. "CC. The initials on the ring," Sarah confirmed. "My mother was Carol Caldwell. She disappeared 28 years ago. When I was just a baby, that ring was hers. She never took it off, according to my grandmother. And now your uncle wears the original." Tyler handed the replica back to her, his expression troubled. "How do you know they're connected?" "It could be coincidence." Sarah pointed to the cherrywood chest. "There are pictures in there, of them together." Tyler turned to the chest, opening it to see for himself. He flipped through the album slowly, recognition dawning on his face. "I never knew," he murmured. "Uncle William never speaks of his past." He looked up at Sarah. "What exactly are you hoping to find here?" "The truth," Sarah said simply. "My mother vanished without a trace. No note, no explanation, just gone. I need to know why." Tyler closed the album, conflicted. "And you think my uncle had something to do with her disappearance?" "I don't know. But But he's the only lead I've ever had. Outside, rain had begun to fall, pattering against the attic windows. The growing darkness matched the gravity of their conversation. Tyler ran a hand through his hair, weighing his options. "If I help you," he finally said, "it stays between us. My uncle is ill, perhaps dying. Whatever happened between him and your mother was almost 3 decades ago." Hope flared in Sarah's chest. "You'll help me." "I'm not promising anything," Tyler cautioned. "But I have questions of my own about my uncle's past. Perhaps we can find answers together." A distant call from downstairs broke the moment. "Tyler, where are you?" It was William's voice, strained but commanding. "I have to go," Tyler said quickly. "Meet me tomorrow morning, before your shift. The gazebo on the east lawn, 7 o'clock. Sarah nodded, relief and anticipation coursing through her. As Tyler hurried downstairs, she carefully tucked the replica ring into her pocket, its weight a reminder of all that had been lost, and all that might soon be found. The early morning mist hung over the Thornton estate as Sarah made her way to the gazebo. Dew dampened her shoes as she crossed the manicured lawn, checking over her shoulder to ensure no one watched from the house. The ornate white structure stood alone among carefully pruned rose bushes, now dormant with the approach of winter. Tyler was already waiting, 2 coffee cups in hand. He offered one to Sarah as she climbed the steps. "Black with sugar," he said. "I guessed." "Thanks." She accepted the cup gratefully, warming her fingers against the cardboard. "I wasn't sure you'd actually show." "I almost didn't." Tyler leaned against the railing, studying her. In the soft morning light, he looked younger, less guarded. "I stayed up half the night thinking about what you told me." Sarah sipped her coffee, waiting. "Those photos in the attic, they're from before I was born. Uncle William never mentioned your mother?" He shook his head. "But that doesn't prove anything sinister." "The ring does," Sarah countered. "Why would he keep it all these years? Why wear it? Sentiment, regret." Tyler shrugged. "People hold on to things from past relationships. This is more than a keepsake," Sarah insisted. "My mother vanished without a trace. No belongings packed, no note left. Just gone one morning, leaving behind her 3-month-old daughter." Tyler's expression softened. "I'm sorry that happened to you. But jumping to conclusions about my uncle, I'm not jumping to conclusions. I'm investigating the only lead I've ever had." A tense silence fell between them. Birds called from nearby trees, oblivious to the human drama unfolding. "What do you want from me?" Tyler finally asked. "Information, access, help navigating this world I don't understand." "And in return?" Sarah hesitated. "What do you want?" Tyler turned his coffee cup slowly in his hands. "The truth. Whatever it is. Uncle William raised me after my parents died. I owe him everything, but lately," he trailed off. What? He's different, secretive, making changes to his will, having private meetings with his lawyer, with his health declining. I thought it was just preparation. Now I'm not so sure." Sarah leaned forward. "So you'll help me?" "Conditionally," Tyler cautioned. "No accusations without proof. No confronting him in his current state, and whatever we find stays between us until we decide what to do." "Agreed," Sarah said quickly. "Then let's start with what we know. Your mother and my uncle were involved approximately 28 years ago. She disappeared suddenly, leaving you behind with your grandmother. The original emerald ring somehow ended up with my uncle." Sarah nodded. "And now he wears it daily, according to Ernest." "Ernest?" Tyler raised an eyebrow. "You've been questioning the staff." "Just casual conversation," Sarah defended. "He mentioned the ring is special to your uncle, that he becomes agitated if he can't find it." Tyler considered this. "That's true. I've seen it myself." He checked his watch. "I have a meeting in the city in an hour, but I'll help you search the house today." "How, Mrs. Peterson watches me like a hawk. Leave that to me." An hour later, Sarah was reassigned to the library, ostensibly for a deep cleaning, but really to give her time to search. Tyler had arranged for Mrs. Peterson to accompany him to the city on urgent household business. The vast library contained thousands of volumes, but Sarah wasn't interested in books. She focused on William's private desk, a heavy mahogany piece positioned near the windows. Most drawers were locked, but she found a small key hidden beneath the leather blotter. The key unlocked the bottom right drawer, revealing a leather-bound ledger. Inside were handwritten entries spanning decades. Properties acquired, deals made, competitors neutralized. Sarah flipped to entries from 28 years ago, searching for anything relating to her mother. October 17, 1997. C. Problem becoming complicated. Pregnancy confirmed. Claims child not mine. Unacceptable situation. November 3, 1997. C. Refusing reasonable solution. Emotional, unpredictable, security risk increasing. November 29, 1997. Sullivan recommends containment strategy. Preparations underway. Lake house being readied. December 12, 1997. Problem addressed. Sullivan handled details. Monthly arrangements established. Sarah's hands trembled as she read. The clinical language couldn't disguise the menace beneath. Her birth date was December 10, 1997. 2 days before the problem was addressed. Find anything interesting? Sarah jumped. Slamming the ledger shut, Raymond Sullivan, William's attorney, stood in the doorway, his thin face set in a cold smile. Mr. Sullivan, I didn't hear you come in. Sarah stood quickly, positioning herself between the man and the open drawer. Clearly. Sullivan stepped into the room, eyes taking in the unlocked drawer. The disturbed papers. Mrs. Peterson mentioned the library was being cleaned, but this looks more like snooping. I was just organizing Mr. Thornton's desk, Sarah improvised, dusting between the papers. How conscientious. Sullivan moved closer. Strange, though. William never allows staff near his personal items. Sarah's mouth went dry. I didn't realize. And now you're caught in a lie. Sullivan's voice remained pleasant, but his eyes hardened. Who are you really, Miss Wilson? Why the interest in William's private affairs? Before Sarah could answer, Ernest appeared in the doorway. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thornton is asking for you. Quite urgently, sir. Sullivan hesitated, clearly reluctant to leave Sarah alone with the desk. He mentioned his will, sir, Ernest added meaningfully. That decided it. Sullivan nodded curtly to Sarah. We'll continue this conversation later. To Ernest, he said, lock the library when she's finished. Once Sullivan left, Ernest looked pointedly at Sarah. You're playing a dangerous game, Miss Caldwell. Sarah froze. What did you call me? I've known who you are since your second day. Ernest closed the door quietly. You have her eyes. You knew my mother, Sarah whispered. Ernest nodded, a shadow crossing his face. Carol was kind to me when few others here were. She deserved better than what happened. What did happen, please? I need to know. Ernest glanced nervously at the door. Not here. There are eyes and ears everywhere. He reached into his pocket, extracting a small key. East wing, 3rd floor, blue room. 7 o'clock tonight. This opens the service elevator. Quieter than the stairs. Sarah accepted the key, hope rising in her chest. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Ernest's expression grew somber. Some truths come at a high cost. That evening, William's condition took a concerning turn. The household buzzed with tension as a doctor was called. Medical equipment was rushed in, and Sullivan paced the hallways, making urgent phone calls. Sarah used the distraction to slip away unnoticed. The service elevator creaked softly as it carried her to the 3rd floor of the East Wing. A section of the house rarely used by the family, the Blue Room was aptly named. Everything from the wallpaper to the upholstery was various shades of blue, creating an underwater effect in the dim light. Ernest waited by the window, his silhouette stark against the night sky. You came, he said, turning to face her. I wasn't sure you would. I've waited 28 years for answers, Sarah replied. I wouldn't miss this chance. Ernest gestured for her to sit. What I'm about to tell you puts us both at risk. Sullivan has protected William's secrets for decades, violently when necessary. Sarah's stomach tightened. Sullivan was mentioned in the ledger. It said he handled the details when my mother disappeared. That doesn't surprise me. Ernest sighed heavily. Raymond Sullivan was just starting as William's attorney back then. Young, ambitious, willing to do whatever it took to advance. What did he do to my mother? Ernest looked away. William was obsessed with Carol. She was different, challenged him, made him laugh. But when she tried to end things, he couldn't accept it. Then she told him she was pregnant. With me, Sarah whispered. Yes, but she insisted the baby, you, weren't his. There was someone else before William. He was furious, humiliated. Then Carol threatened to go public with some of William's more questionable business practices she'd learned about. So he had her eliminated, Sarah said flatly. Ernest shook his head. Not killed. Contained. Sullivan created a new identity for her. Forced her to relocate to a remote property William owned by a lake in northern Wisconsin. Told her that if she ever contacted anyone from her past, you would suffer the consequences. Sarah felt sick. She's alive. All this time. As far as I know. Ernest lowered his voice further. I drove her there myself, though I didn't know the full circumstances then. She was devastated, convinced she would never see you again. Does she still live there? At this lake house? I believe so. William has it listed as a continuing maintenance property in his accounts. Monthly payments are still sent. Sarah struggled to process this revelation. Her mother, alive all this time, trapped in a prison of William's making. I need to find her. It won't be easy, Ernest warned. The property is isolated, secured, and if Sullivan discovers your true identity. The door creaked behind them. Sarah and Ernest turned to find Tyler standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. I've been looking for you, he said quietly. Tyler, Sarah began. I can explain. No need. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. I heard everything. Ernest stiffened. Mr. Harrison, it's okay. Ernest, Tyler raised a hand. I'm not here to stop you. I'm here because there's something both of you need to know. His face was grim in the half-light. My uncle just had a major stroke. The doctor says he likely won't regain consciousness. Oh God, Ernest murmured. That's not all, Tyler continued. Sullivan is meeting with the other executives tonight. I overheard him on the phone. Something about contingency plans and removing loose ends before they become problems. Sarah and Ernest exchanged alarmed glances. We're out of time, Tyler said urgently. If we're going to find your mother, it has to be now, before Sullivan takes control and buries the truth forever. Sullivan would destroy evidence, Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tyler's expression was grim. In a heartbeat, my uncle may have regrets, but Sullivan has a career built on Thornton's secrets. If William dies, Sullivan will move quickly to protect himself. Ernest nodded grimly. He's right. I've seen Sullivan clean up messes before. Then we need to find proof of what happened to my mother, Sarah said. Something solid that connects William to her disappearance. Tyler ran a hand through his hair. The study might have something. Uncle William keeps his most sensitive documents there. I've already checked his desk, Sarah said. The ledger had some entries, but nothing explicitly incriminating. Not the desk, Ernest interjected. Behind the painting. Both Sarah and Tyler turned to him. There's a wall safe behind the portrait of William's father, Ernest explained. I've seen him open it late at night when he thinks everyone's asleep. Do you know the combination? Tyler asked. Ernest shook his head. He always made me leave the room. I might know where to look, Sarah said. The ledger mentioned monthly arrangements. There must be records somewhere, payments, property deeds, something concrete. Tyler checked his watch. Sullivan's meeting should keep him occupied for at least an hour. If we're going to search the study, now's our chance. They moved through the house like shadows, using the service corridors to avoid the medical staff attending to William. The main study was dark when they entered, moonlight casting long shadows across the ornate carpet. Ernest kept watch by the door, while Sarah and Tyler approached the painting. A stern-faced man with William's steel-gray eyes. Tyler carefully lifted it from the wall, revealing a small safe embedded in the plaster. Any ideas on the combination? He whispered. Sarah studied the safe. Try the date of the last entry in the ledger, December 12th, 1997. Tyler entered 12/12/97. Nothing happened. Something significant to both of them, maybe, Sarah suggested. When did they meet? Ernest thought for a moment. October 1996, I believe. I remember driving William to a charity event where he first saw her. Tyler tried 10/10/96. Still nothing. Sarah touched the replica ring hanging around her neck again. The initials, C&C. What if they're not just for Carol Caldwell? What else could they be? Tyler asked. In the phonetic alphabet, C is Charlie, Ernest offered. William was in the Navy before taking over the family business. Military men sometimes use that. Charlie Charlie, Sarah murmured. CC could be a code or a reference to something they both understood. Tyler snapped his fingers. Wait. This is the third letter of the alphabet. Try 33. Sarah entered the numbers. Nothing. What about a date? Ernest suggested. Did your mother have a birthday or anniversary that might be significant? Sarah thought for a moment. Her birthday was March 3rd. Her eyes widened. Third month. Third day. 3-3. Tyler entered 0303. The safe clicked open. Inside were several folders, a small jewelry box, and a stack of sealed envelopes tied with string. Sarah reached for the envelopes first, recognizing her mother's handwriting on the front of each one. These are addressed to William, but they're all still sealed, she said, turning them over. They were never sent, as Tyler and Ernest continued searching through the other documents. Sarah carefully opened the earliest letter, dated November 1997. William, I'm writing this from my apartment, though I doubt I'll ever send it. Your men have been watching the building for days now. I'm afraid to go out, afraid to call anyone. You've made it clear what will happen if I don't comply with your solution. I need you to understand something. This child is not yours. I've told you this repeatedly, but your pride won't let you accept it. I was with James before I met you. You knew this. The timing makes it impossible for the baby to be yours. What we had was real for a time, but it became something twisted. The control, the jealousy, the threats when I tried to leave. This isn't love, William. It's possession. I won't let you take my baby. I won't sign those papers. Whatever you're planning, whatever Sullivan has suggested, know that I will fight with everything I have. Carol Sarah's hands trembled as she folded the letter. She knew he was planning something, she whispered. Tyler had found a folder containing property documents. Look at this. A deed for a lakefront property in northern Wisconsin, transferred to something called Emerald Holdings LLC in December 1997. That has to be it, Sarah said. The lake house where he's keeping her. Ernest peered at the document. Pine Lake, I remember that place. Isolated, surrounded by forest, miles from the nearest town. There's more, Tyler said, pulling out another folder. Monthly wire transfers to an account in the name of Charlotte Carson. Same initials, CC. A fake identity, Sarah realized. That's how he's been supporting her all these years. While keeping her prisoner, Tyler added grimly. Sarah opened another letter. This one dated just days before her birth. William, the baby could come any day now. Your latest message delivered by Sullivan made your intentions clear. You'll take her from me, claim she's yours despite all evidence, and use your money and power to make it legal. I've hidden this letter where I hope my mother will find it someday. If you're reading it instead, know that I will never stop fighting for my daughter. Her name will be Sarah, a name you didn't choose, a life you don't control. The ring you gave me, the one you insisted I never remove. I finally understand what the initials mean. Not Carol Caldwell, but Charlotte Carson, the identity you've already prepared for me. You had this planned from the beginning. I don't know what you'll tell people about my disappearance, but I know the truth will surface someday. Secrets this dark always find the light. Carol Sarah wiped away tears. She knew. She tried to protect me. We need to copy these documents, Tyler said. Evidence of the property, the wire transfers, everything. Wait, Ernest said suddenly, holding up a hand. Someone's coming. They froze, listening to footsteps approaching in the hallway. Tyler quickly gathered the most crucial documents. Shoving them into his jacket pocket, Sarah returned the letters to their envelopes while Ernest closed the safe and replaced the painting. The study door opened just as they stepped away from the wall. Raymond Sullivan stood in the doorway, his thin face lined with suspicion. Well, he said softly, what have we here? Mr. Sullivan, Tyler recovered first. How's my uncle? Stable for now, Sullivan replied, his gaze moving from Tyler to Ernest and finally landing on Sarah. Though I'm more concerned about why the three of you are in William's private study in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep, Tyler improvised. I wanted to review some of the company documents before tomorrow's board meeting. Ernest and Miss Wilson were helping me find them. Sullivan's eyes narrowed. At midnight, in the dark. I just turned off the lights when we heard you coming, Tyler said smoothly. We were about to leave. Sullivan stepped further into the room, blocking their exit. Miss Wilson seems to have developed a habit of appearing where she doesn't belong, his cold gaze fixed on Sarah. First the library, now here. Mr. Harrison asked for my assistance, Sarah said, fighting to keep her voice steady. I was just doing my job. Your job, Sullivan repeated with a humorless smile. Yes, let's discuss your job. He pulled a folder from inside his jacket. I took the liberty of checking your references, Miss Wilson. Interestingly, none of them seemed to exist. Sarah's heart sank. Tyler stepped slightly in front of her. Sullivan, this isn't the time, he said firmly. My uncle is critically ill. Whatever concerns you have about the staff can wait. On the contrary, Sullivan replied, this is precisely the time to address security concerns, especially when they involve someone taking an unusual interest in your uncle's private affairs. His cold eyes locked with Sarah's. Or should I say, Miss Caldwell. The room went still. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. What did you call me? She managed. Sarah Caldwell, Sullivan repeated, his voice like ice. Daughter of Carol Caldwell, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances nearly 3 decades ago. He smiled thinly. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize you? You have your mother's eyes? Tyler looked between them, then squared his shoulders. Whatever you think you know, Sullivan. I know everything. Sullivan cut him off. I've known who she was since her second day here. The question is, what does she know? His gaze returned to Sarah. How much has Ernest told you about your mother's arrangement with William? Enough, Sarah said, finding her courage. I know what you did to her. I know she's alive. Sullivan sighed. Then we have a problem. He reached into his jacket again, this time withdrawing not a folder, but a small handgun. A significant problem. Put the gun down. Sullivan, Tyler said, his voice steady, despite the tension in his shoulders. You can't seriously think shooting us is a solution. Sullivan's thin smile never wavered. I've spent nearly 30 years protecting William Thornton's interests. I'm not about to stop now. My uncle is dying, Tyler argued. Whatever happened with Carol Caldwell is ancient history. Nothing is ever ancient history when it involves a man like William, Sullivan countered. The statute of limitations on kidnapping never expires. Neither does falsifying documents, coercion, or a dozen other felonies I've committed on his behalf. His cold eyes narrowed. And William isn't dead yet. Ernest stepped forward, his weathered hands raised placatingly. Mr. Sullivan, I've served this family for 40 years. There must be another way to resolve this. Always the voice of reason, Ernest. Sullivan sighed. Unfortunately, reason left the building the moment Miss Caldwell decided to come digging. Sarah watched the gun in Sullivan's hand. Calculating her options, the study door was behind him. The windows too high to jump safely. She needed to buy time. If you harm us, people will ask questions, she said. My grandmother knows I was investigating William Thornton. Sullivan chuckled. People have been disappearing from William's orbit for decades without questions. What's 3 more? You're forgetting something, Tyler interjected. I'm William's heir. The board expects me at tomorrow's meeting. My absence would trigger exactly the kind of scrutiny you're trying to avoid. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Sullivan's face. And what about the doctors and nurses downstairs? Tyler pressed his advantage. They'll hear a gunshot. Silencers exist, Mr. Harrison. Sullivan's grip on the weapon tightened. But you raise a valid point about your position. Perhaps we can reach an accommodation. I'm listening, Tyler said cautiously. Sullivan gestured with the gun. You will continue your role as normal. Miss Caldwell and Ernest will quietly leave Chicago tonight. None of you will ever speak of Carol Caldwell or Pine Lake again. And my mother? Sarah demanded. She stays imprisoned forever. Your mother made her choice years ago, Sullivan said coldly. She could have cooperated, signed the adoption papers, walked away with a generous settlement. Instead, she threatened to expose William's business practices. What business practices? Tyler asked. Sullivan ignored him. The arrangement has worked for 28 years. It can continue to work. I'll never agree to that, Sarah said firmly. I've spent my entire life wondering what happened to my mother. Now that I know she's alive, nothing will stop me from finding her. Sullivan's expression hardened. Then I'm afraid we've reached an impasse. Before he could raise the gun higher, the study door burst open behind him. Mrs. Peterson stood in the doorway, her usually stern face wild with urgency. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Harrison, come quickly. It's Mr. Thornton. He's awake and asking for you both. Sullivan froze, Momentarily distracted, it was all the opening Ernest needed. The old driver lunged forward with surprising speed, knocking Sullivan's arm upward just as the gun discharged. The bullet embedded itself in the ceiling as Tyler tackled Sullivan to the ground. "Get the gun!" Tyler shouted, struggling to pin Sullivan's arms. Sarah darted forward, wrenching the weapon from Sullivan's grasp. Mrs. Peterson stood in the doorway, mouth agape at the scene unfolding before her. "Mrs. Peterson," Ernest said urgently, "please call the police." "No police," Sullivan spat, still struggling beneath Tyler. "Think about what that would do to William, to the company, to all of you." "He's right," Tyler said grimly, maintaining his hold on Sullivan. "If this becomes public, it destroys everything. Then what do we do with him?" Sarah asked, keeping the gun trained on Sullivan. Tyler looked up at her, his expression resolute. "We take him with us to Pine Lake." Sullivan's face contorted with rage. "You wouldn't dare." "Watch me," Tyler said coldly. "You're going to help us find Carol Caldwell. Once she's safe, we'll decide what happens next." Mrs. Peterson, still frozen in shock, finally found her voice. "Mr. Thornton is asking for all of you. He said it's urgent." Tyler hesitated, then nodded. "We'll come now, Ernest. Secure Sullivan." Ernest produced a zip tie from his pocket, a tool he used for household repairs, and bound Sullivan's wrists. "Mrs. Peterson," he said gently, "I think it's best if you forget what you've seen here tonight." The housekeeper looked between them, confusion evident on her face. "But Mr. Thornton, we'll be told that Mr. Sullivan is handling an urgent matter," Tyler finished for her. "Please, Mrs. Peterson, for the family's sake." Something in Tyler's tone seemed to reach her. She nodded reluctantly and stepped aside to let them pass. They made an odd procession through the dimly lit corridors, Tyler leading, followed by Sullivan with Ernest gripping his arm, and Sarah bringing up the rear, the gun hidden in the pocket of her uniform. Medical equipment hummed softly as they entered William's bedroom, where the once powerful man lay propped up on pillows, his face ashen. "Uncle William," Tyler said, approaching the bed. "You're awake." William's eyes, still sharp despite his frail condition, moved from Tyler to Sullivan, then widened fractionally when they landed on Sarah. "You found her," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the medical equipment. The room went still. Sarah stepped forward, heart pounding. "You recognize me." William's gaze never left her face. "Carol's eyes," he murmured. "I've been seeing them in my dreams for weeks now. I thought it was the medication." His frail hand moved toward the bedside table. "The ring. Give me the ring." Tyler retrieved the emerald ring and placed it in his uncle's palm. William held it up weakly, the green stone catching the light. "I kept it to remember," he said, each word a visible effort, "to remind myself of what I destroyed." "Where is my mother?" Sarah asked, moving closer to the bed. "Is she still at Pine Lake?" William's eyes widened further. "You know," he glanced at Sullivan, who stood rigid with Ernest's firm grip on his arm. "Raymond, what have you done?" "Only what was necessary to protect you," Sullivan replied stiffly. "As I've always done." William closed his eyes briefly, pain crossing his features. When he opened them again, they were filled with a clarity that had been missing before. "Carol is at Pine Lake," he confirmed weakly. "The house on the northern shore. She's lived there since." He trailed off, then rallied. "Since I made the worst mistake of my life." "Why?" Sarah asked, her voice breaking. "Why keep her prisoner all these years? It wasn't supposed to be forever," William whispered. "Just until the adoption was finalized, but then you disappeared into the foster system before Sullivan's people could take you. Carol was devastated, became unstable. Sullivan convinced me she'd become a public liability if released." He turned to Sullivan with unexpected steel in his gaze. "You told me she was eventually content there, that she had accepted her new life." Sullivan's face remained impassive. "She was secure and well provided for. Everything was handled as you instructed." "I never instructed you to imprison a woman for 3 decades, William said, his voice strengthening momentarily before a fit of coughing overtook him. The night nurse hurried in, alarmed by the monitors. "He needs rest," she insisted. "All of you should leave." William waved her away weakly. "Not yet." He fixed his gaze on Sarah again. "The combination to my safe. We found it," Tyler interjected softly. We know about Pine Lake, the monthly payments, everything. William nodded, relieved. The letters? Did you read her letters? Yes, Sarah said. She knew what you were planning. She fought you. She was stronger than I ever gave her credit for, William admitted. His hand closed around the emerald ring. Take this. It belongs to your mother. He pressed it into Sarah's palm. And take the paperwork for Pine Lake. Release her from what I've done. His breath was becoming more labored, causing the nurse to step forward again insistently. Please. He really must rest now. Tyler nodded. We'll let you rest, Uncle, but we'll need to leave Chicago tonight. There's something important we have to do. Pine Lake, William whispered. Tell her. Tell Carol. His voice faded as his eyelids drooped. Sir, the nurse asked anxiously, checking his vitals. Just tired, William murmured, already half asleep. So very tired. Outside in the hallway, Tyler turned to the others. We need to leave immediately. Sullivan's people could be anywhere, and once he doesn't check in, they'll know something's wrong. Ernest nodded. I'll get the car ready. The back roads to Wisconsin will be safer at this hour. What about him? Sarah nodded toward Sullivan, who stood silently, calculating. He comes with us, Tyler said firmly. He's the only one who knows exactly where the house is and how the security works. Sullivan's thin lips curved into a cold smile. You'll never make it to Pine Lake. William may be dying, but his organization remains intact. People will be looking for me by morning. Then we better move quickly, Tyler replied, unfazed. Ernest, bring the car around, Sarah. Gather only what you absolutely need. We leave in 20 minutes. As they separated to prepare, Sarah clutched the emerald ring in her palm, feeling its weight, the weight of 28 years of secrets, of her mother's suffering, of William's regret. Within hours, she might finally meet the woman she had spent her entire life missing. The thought filled her with equal parts terror and hope. Pine Lake awaited, and with it, the truth she had sought for so long. The night air carried a chill as Ernest pulled the black Lincoln Navigator onto the empty highway heading north. Headlights cut through darkness, illuminating bare trees that lined the roadside like silent sentinels in the back seat. Sullivan sat rigid between Tyler and Sarah, his bound hands resting awkwardly in his lap. 5 hours to Pine Lake, Ernest announced from the driver's seat. We should arrive before dawn. Sarah stared out the window, the emerald ring clutched tightly in her palm. After 28 years of wondering, of imagining every possible scenario, from death to voluntary abandonment, the truth was almost within reach. Her mother was alive. The thought still felt surreal. She won't recognize you, Sullivan said suddenly, breaking the tense silence. You should prepare yourself for that. Sarah turned to him. What do you mean? Charlotte Carson has been living in isolation for nearly 3 decades. Her grip on reality is tenuous at best. Sullivan's clinical tone made Sarah's skin crawl. William insisted she receive proper care, but the isolation takes a psychological toll. A toll you inflicted, Tyler interjected coldly. Sullivan shrugged as much as his restraints would allow. I presented options. William made choices. Tell me about the house, Sarah demanded. The security, what should we expect? For a moment, Sullivan seemed to consider refusing, but something in Sarah's expression made him reconsider. The property spans 50 acres of woodland on the northern shore of Pine Lake. The house itself is set back from the water, invisible from the lake or the main road. 2 security guards rotate shifts. Simple muscle, not particularly bright. Cameras cover the perimeter. The access code changes weekly. I receive it every Monday. And today is Friday, Ernest noted. The code from Monday should still work. What about my mother's condition? Sarah pressed. Sullivan's expression remained impassive. Physically, she's well. Regular medical checkups, proper nutrition, mentally. He paused. She lives primarily in the past. Talks to you as if you were still an infant. Keeps a nursery prepared. Sarah felt as if she'd been punched. Tyler reached across Sullivan to touch her arm, a silent gesture of support. William truly believed he was protecting her, Sullivan continued. Foreign competitors had made threats. There was genuine concern for her safety, at least initially. And later, Tyler asked. Later it became routine, a situation to be maintained. A woman's life, Sarah said bitterly. Decades stolen because of William's obsession and your complicity. Sullivan met her gaze without flinching. You think this is a simple story of villains and victims? Your mother made choices too. She threatened to expose transactions that would have sent dozens of people to prison, including her own brother who worked in William's accounting department. Sarah blinked in surprise. My mother doesn't have a brother. James Caldwell, Sullivan said. The man she claimed was your real father. The revelation hit Sarah like a wave of cold water. My father, he worked for William, junior accountant. Found discrepancies in the books, brought them to Carol instead of management. They thought they could leverage the information for a payoff. Sullivan's thin smile returned. Amateur blackmailers, both of them. You're lying, Sarah said, but uncertainty crept into her voice. Ask Charlotte yourself when we arrive. Though she may tell you one of the many alternate versions she's created over the years. Tyler's expression hardened. Enough, Sullivan. You don't get to rewrite history now to justify what you did. Sullivan fell silent, but the damage was done. Sarah turned back to the window, mind racing. Could her mother have been involved in blackmail? Was her father really James Caldwell, an accountant in William's company? Gran had never spoken of him, had always changed the subject when Sarah asked about her father. The miles passed in tense silence. Occasionally, Sullivan would provide directions as Ernest navigated the increasingly rural roads. By 3 a.m, they had left major highways behind, traveling on narrow forest roads where pine trees pressed close on either side. 2 miles ahead, there's a service road on the right, Sullivan instructed. Unmarked, easy to miss. Ernest slowed the navigator, peering through the darkness. There, he said, spotting a narrow gap in the trees barely wide enough for their vehicle. The service road was little more than a dirt track, forcing Ernest to navigate carefully around potholes and exposed roots. After a half-mile, they reached a tall chain-link fence topped with razor wire. A security keypad stood beside a heavy gate. The code is 6729, Sullivan said. When Tyler looked at him suspiciously, he added, What would be the point of lying now? We're already here. Ernest entered the code. The gate slid open with a mechanical hum. Drive exactly 15 miles per hour, Sullivan instructed. The road is monitored for speed. Anything faster or slower triggers an alert, Ernest complied, guiding the vehicle along the winding road until a large house came into view. Unlike the ostentatious Thornton mansion, this building was designed to blend with its surroundings. Cedar siding, large windows facing the lake, a wraparound porch. Despite its appealing exterior, the additional security cameras and reinforced shutters revealed its true purpose. This wasn't a home, it was a beautiful prison. Where are the guards? Tyler asked, scanning the property. Guardhouse by the lake, Sullivan replied. One on duty, one off. They switch at 6 a.m. So we have about 2 hours, Sarah calculated. How do we get in without alerting them? Service entrance on the east side. Separate alarm system. Code is William's birthday, 80527. They parked the navigator behind a stand of trees, out of sight from the main house and the distant guardhouse. Ernest remained with the vehicle, keeping watch over Sullivan. While Sarah and Tyler approached the house on foot, the forest was eerily silent around them, their footsteps muffled by a carpet of pine needles. When they reached the service entrance, Tyler entered the code with steady fingers. The door unlocked with a soft click. Ready? He whispered. Sarah nodded, though her heart hammered against her ribs. I've been ready for 28 years. They slipped inside, finding themselves in a small mudroom that opened into a kitchen. The house was dark, but clean and well-maintained. It looked remarkably normal. Cookbooks on a shelf, a coffee mug beside the sink, a calendar on the wall. Sarah moved through the space slowly, absorbing details of her mother's life. A paperback novel lay open on the coffee table. Watercolor paintings hung on the walls, landscapes of the lake and forest. Had her mother painted these during her captivity? Sarah, Tyler called softly from the hallway. I think you should see this. She followed his voice to an open door. Tyler stood in the threshold, his expression unreadable as he stepped aside to let her enter. It was a nursery. Soft yellow walls, a white crib, stuffed animals arranged on shelves. A mobile of stars and moons hung from the ceiling, gently turning in the draft from the hallway. Everything was immaculate, as if prepared for a baby's imminent arrival. Sullivan was telling the truth, Tyler murmured. Sarah approached the crib slowly. Inside lay a small knitted blanket and a teddy bear wearing a ribbon embroidered with her name. On the dresser stood a collection of photographs, images of Sarah growing up that she recognized from her grandmother's albums. How did she get these? Sarah wondered aloud. William, came a soft voice from the doorway. He sent them every year on your birthday. Sarah turned, and time seemed to stop. Standing in the doorway was a woman in her late 50s, thin with silver-streaked dark hair pulled back in a loose braid. Her face showed the effects of age and isolation, but her eyes, Sarah's eyes, were bright and alert. Who are you? The woman asked. No fear in her voice, only weary caution. Did William send you? Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't move. This was the moment she had imagined countless times, yet now words failed her. It was Tyler who broke the silence. Mrs. Caldwell, he said gently, my name is Tyler Harrison. I'm William Thornton's nephew, and this. He looked at Sarah, giving her a moment to collect herself. My name is Sarah, she finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman's expression didn't change. I have a daughter named Sarah, she said matter-of-factly. She'd be about your age now. William took her when she was a baby. He sends me pictures sometimes. She gestured to the photographs. See, that's my Sarah. Sarah took a step forward, tears filling her eyes. Mom, she said, the word strange on her tongue after so many years. It's me. It's Sarah, your daughter. Carol Caldwell, or Charlotte Carson as she now believed herself to be, shook her head. No, that's not possible. My Sarah is gone. William told me the government took her. Foster care. Too many records sealed. Impossible to trace. Sarah reached into her pocket and withdrew the emerald ring. She held it out, the green stone catching the dim light. He gave this back to me. He said it belongs to you. Carol's eyes fixed on the ring, recognition flickering across her face. She reached out with trembling fingers, touching the stone as if making sure it was real. See, she whispered. Charlotte Carson, the name he gave me when he brought me here. Her gaze lifted to Sarah's face, truly seeing her for the first time. But before that, I was Carol Caldwell, and I had a daughter named Sarah. Yes, Sarah said, tears now streaming freely down her face. That's right. You had me. Carol's hand moved from the ring to Sarah's face, her touch feather-light against her daughter's cheek. For a long moment, she studied every detail, as if memorizing a dream she expected to vanish. Sarah, she finally whispered. Hope and fear warring in her voice. My Sarah. And then something broke within her. A wall constructed over decades of isolation and grief. With a small, wounded sound, Carol pulled Sarah into her arms, holding her as if she might disappear at any moment. My baby, she sobbed against Sarah's hair. My Sarah, you found me. You finally found me. Time seemed to stand still in that small nursery as mother and daughter clung to each other. 28 years of separation collapsing in a single embrace. Tyler stood quietly in the doorway, giving them space for this sacred moment. I never stopped thinking about you, Carol whispered, pulling back to look at Sarah's face. Every birthday, every Christmas, I would wonder where you were, if you were safe, if you were loved. Gran took good care of me, Sarah assured her, wiping tears from her cheeks. She never let me forget you. She kept all your photos, your letters, everything she could. Carol's expression brightened. Mom is still alive. She raised you. Yes, she's 78 now, still stubborn as ever. Sarah smiled through her tears. She's going to be overjoyed to see you. A shadow crossed Carol's face. See me, but I can't. William won't allow. She looked around nervously, as if expecting guards to appear at any moment. William is dying, Tyler said gently, stepping into the room. He's the one who told us where to find you. He wants to make amends. Carol stared at him, processing this information. Dying, she repeated. And you're his nephew? Tyler nodded. I never knew about you, about any of this, until Sarah started working at the mansion and recognized his ring. The emerald, Carol murmured, looking down at the ring still in Sarah's palm. He promised it would keep me safe. What it really meant was that I belonged to him. Sarah closed her mother's fingers around the ring. It's yours now, To keep or to throw away, whatever brings you peace. A noise from outside drew Tyler to the window. Ernest is signaling us, he said urgently. Something's wrong. Through the trees, they could see Ernest standing beside the navigator, waving his arms in warning. Moments later, they heard the sound of an approaching vehicle. The guards, Carol said, her face paling. They patrol the perimeter every few hours. We need to leave, Tyler urged. Now before they spot our car. I can't, Carol whispered, panic rising in her voice. If I try to leave, Sullivan will... Sarah took her mother's hands firmly. Sullivan is in our custody. He can't hurt you anymore, and William has given us the paperwork to free you legally. Carol's eyes widened. Sullivan is here. In the car with Ernest, Tyler explained. We forced him to lead us to you. A bitter laugh escaped Carol's lips. Oh, I'd like to see him, after all these years. Later, Sarah promised. First, we need to get you out of here safely. Carol hesitated, looking around the house that had been her prison for nearly 3 decades. I don't know if I can, she admitted, her voice small. This place, it's all I know now. Mom, Sarah said firmly, you survived 28 years of captivity. You can survive freedom too. I'll help you. We all will. The sound of the patrol vehicle grew louder, its headlights sweeping through the trees. We don't have time to debate this, Tyler said. They'll be here any minute. Carol took a deep breath, then nodded. Let me grab a few things. She moved quickly for someone who had lived in isolation for so long, gathering a small bag with medication, a photo album, and a worn journal. As they prepared to leave through the service entrance, Carol paused to touch a framed photograph of baby Sarah. I don't need this anymore, she said softly. I have the real thing now. They slipped out of the house and into the cover of the forest, making their way toward Ernest and the navigator. The patrol vehicle had stopped near the main entrance, its spotlight scanning the property. Hurry, Ernest called in a hushed voice when he spotted them. They've already called for backup. Sullivan's phone was sending location updates. Carol froze when she saw Sullivan sitting in the back seat, his expression a mask of cold disdain. Raymond, she said, her voice suddenly steady. You look exactly the same, still doing William's dirty work. Charlotte, Sullivan replied, using her false name deliberately. I see time hasn't improved your situation assessment skills. You're still making poor decisions. My name, she said firmly, is Carol Caldwell, and my decision to leave this prison is the first good one I've made in decades. A shout from the direction of the guardhouse cut the confrontation short. They've spotted the car, Ernest warned. We need to move. They piled into the navigator, Carol sliding into the back seat beside her daughter. As far from Sullivan as possible, Ernest gunned the engine, the powerful vehicle lurching forward along the service road. They'll call the gate to close it remotely, Sullivan said, almost smugly. You won't make it out. Tyler turned to him, eyes hard. Then you'd better tell us the override code, unless you want to be in this car when the guards start shooting. Sullivan's smugness faltered. 6914I, he finally muttered. But you'll never outrun their vehicles, they're ex-military. So was I, Ernest said from the driver's seat, his gentle demeanor replaced by focused determination. Naval intelligence. Before I started driving for the Thorntons, the navigator burst from the forest onto the main access road, headlights illuminating the approaching gate already beginning to slide closed. Behind them, the patrol vehicle gave chase, its spotlight sweeping over their car. Faster, Ernest, Tyler urged. Holding on tight would be advisable, Ernest replied calmly, pressing the accelerator to the floor. The navigator surged forward, eating up the distance to the gate. They're not going to make it, Sullivan muttered. Sarah gripped her mother's hand as the gate loomed closer. Now almost half closed, Ernest aimed the navigator at the narrowing gap, his weathered hands steady on the wheel. Now! He shouted as they approached the keypad. Tyler leaned out the window, punching in the override code. The gate shuddered to a halt. Ernest threaded the needle, the navigator scraping against the metal gate with a screech of paint and sparks. They burst through onto the main forest road, just as the pursuing vehicle reached the gate. They'll call the local police, Sullivan warned. Every road out of here will be watched. That's why we're not taking roads, Ernest replied, making a sharp turn onto what appeared to be a hiking trail barely wide enough for their vehicle. Branches scraped against the windows as they bounced over the uneven terrain. "Where are we going?" Carol asked, clinging to Sarah as the navigator jolted through the forest. "There's an old fire road that connects to Highway 51, Ernest explained. "Used it during Forest Service training years ago. It's overgrown but still passable." Sarah watched her mother's face in the dim light of the car. Despite the chaos around them, Carol seemed strangely calm, as if the danger of escape was nothing compared to the decades of psychological torment she had endured. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked quietly. Carol turned to her, a smile breaking through her tension. "I'm with my daughter," she said simply. "I'm more okay than I've been in 28 years. The navigator burst from the forest onto a narrow gravel track that eventually widened into the promised fire road. Ernest maintained their speed, expertly navigating the rough terrain. "We'll hit the highway in about 10 minutes, he announced. "From there, it's 4 hours back to Chicago." "Not Chicago," Tyler said firmly. "Sullivan's people will be watching the mansion. We need somewhere safe to regroup." "My apartment," Sarah suggested. "No one would think to look for us there." Sullivan gave a derisive laugh. "Your apartment will be the first place they check when they realize you're gone. William's security team is thorough." "He's right," Tyler admitted reluctantly. "We need neutral territory." Carol spoke up, her voice steady. "My mother's house. It's the last place they'd expect us to go, and it's where I need to be right now." The logic was sound. The navigator turned south toward the city, toward a reunion almost 3 decades in the making, as dawn broke over the highway, casting golden light across the landscape. Sarah watched her mother gaze out the window in wonder at a world she hadn't freely seen in 28 years. The emerald ring glinted on Carol's finger, no longer a symbol of captivity, but of survival. "What happens now?" Carol asked softly. Sarah squeezed her hand. "Now we go home, and then we decide how to make William Thornton and Raymond Sullivan pay for what they took from us." The navigator sped south, carrying its passengers toward an uncertain future, but one they would face together. The modest bungalow on Chicago's south side hadn't changed much in nearly 3 decades. The same brick facade, the same maple tree in the front yard, now larger, its branches stretching higher toward the sky. Carol stared at it through the navigator's window, her hands trembling in her lap. "I never thought I'd see this place again," she whispered. The journey had been tense but uneventful. Sullivan, still secured in zip ties, had grown increasingly sullen as they approached the city. They had stopped once to call Gran, Sarah wanting to prepare her for the shock of Carol's return. The conversation had been brief, tearful, and ended with a simple instruction: "Bring my daughter home." Now, as Ernest parked the navigator a block away, a precaution against being followed, the reality of what was about to happen settled over them all. "What if she doesn't recognize me?" Carol asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. "What if I'm too changed?" "Mom," Sarah said gently, "she's your mother. She'd know you blindfolded." They approached the house cautiously, Tyler keeping a firm grip on Sullivan's arm. At the front steps, Carol froze, overcome by memory and emotion. "I can't," she whispered. Sarah took her hand. "Together," she said, before they could knock. The door swung open. Eleanor Caldwell stood in the threshold, one hand braced against the doorframe, the other pressed to her mouth. At 78, she was frailer than Carol remembered, her once auburn hair now snow-white, her tall frame slightly stooped. But her eyes, those piercing blue eyes, were unchanged, and they filled with tears as they took in the daughter she had mourned for decades. "Carol," she breathed, the word, part question, part prayer. "Mom," Carol replied, her voice breaking. They moved toward each other like magnets finally freed from opposing forces, colliding in an embrace so fierce it seemed to erase the years between them. Sarah watched, tears streaming down her face, as her mother and grandmother held each other, sobbing and laughing simultaneously. "Let me look at you," Eleanor said, finally pulling back to cup Carol's face in her weathered hands. "My beautiful girl, my Carol." She glanced over Carol's shoulder at the others, her eyes narrowing when they landed on Sullivan. "And who is this?" "The man responsible for keeping me prisoner," Carol said, her voice suddenly hard. "Raymond Sullivan, William Thornton's attorney and fixer." Eleanor's expression darkened. She approached Sullivan slowly, studying him with cold disdain. "So you're the one who stole my daughter's life." Sullivan met her gaze without flinching. "I protected William's interests. Nothing more." Without warning, Eleanor slapped him across the face, the crack echoing in the quiet street. "That," she said calmly, "is 28 years overdue." Tyler quickly ushered everyone inside before the commotion could attract attention. Ernest secured Sullivan to a dining room chair, while Eleanor fussed over Carol, touching her hair, her hands, her face, as if reassuring herself this wasn't a dream. "You're so thin," she murmured. "Didn't they feed you properly in that place?" Carol gave a watery laugh. "Mom, I'm 55 years old. No one stays as slim as they were at 27. Eleanor turned to Sarah. "And you, my brave girl? How did you find her?" Sarah explained everything, the night at the diner, recognizing the ring, infiltrating the mansion, discovering the truth with Tyler and Ernest's help. As she spoke, Eleanor's expression shifted between horror, pride, and fierce determination. "So William Thornton is dying," she said when Sarah finished. "Good. I hope he suffers." "Gran," Sarah admonished gently. "Don't gran me," Eleanor fired back. "That man stole my daughter and separated her from her child. Whatever happens to him now is justice, not tragedy." Carol placed a hand on her mother's arm. "What matters is that I'm home now. We're together." "And what about him?" Eleanor nodded toward Sullivan, who sat silently observing their reunion. "What happens to the man who carried out Thornton's dirty work?" Tyler, who had been making calls to check on his uncle's condition, rejoined them. "That's complicated," he admitted. "Legally, we have enough evidence to press charges. Kidnapping, false imprisonment, coercion, but doing so would expose William's crimes as well." "Let it all come out," Eleanor declared. "The truth deserves to be told." "It's not that simple," Carol said quietly. "There's more to the story than what Sarah knows." Everyone turned to her. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. Carol sighed, settling onto the living room sofa. "William wasn't entirely wrong about everything. I did threaten to expose his business practices, and I did work with James Caldwell, my cousin, not my brother, as Sullivan claimed." "Your cousin?" Sarah repeated, confused. "James worked in William's accounting department," Carol explained. "He discovered evidence of tax fraud, money laundering, bribes paid to city officials. When he brought it to me, we thought we could use it to negotiate a settlement." Her expression darkened. "We were naive. People who crossed William Thornton didn't walk away with settlements. They disappeared. Like James did," Eleanor said softly. Carol nodded. 3 days after we confronted William, James's apartment was found empty. His car was discovered at O'Hare Airport with a ticket to Mexico in the glove compartment. But I knew he'd never leave voluntarily, not with his mother ill. William had him eliminated, Tyler concluded grimly. "I believe so," Carol agreed. "And when I learned I was pregnant, I knew I had to protect my baby from William at all costs." Sarah leaned forward. "So James wasn't my father?" "No, sweetheart. Your father was Michael Reeves, a graduate student I dated before meeting William. He never knew about you. We'd already broken up when I discovered I was pregnant. I planned to raise you on my own. But William thought you were carrying his child," Sarah said, understanding dawning. "At first," Carol confirmed. "When I told him the timing made it impossible, he refused to believe me. His pride couldn't accept that I'd been with someone else before him. He became obsessed with the idea of claiming you as his own, his heir, his legacy." Sullivan shifted in his bindings. "The Thornton bloodline was everything to William," he interjected. "The thought of his child being raised by someone else was intolerable to him." "I wasn't his child," Sarah snapped. "It didn't matter," Carol said tiredly. "In his mind, you were. When I refused to give you up for adoption by him, he became desperate. That's when Sullivan presented his solution. Make me disappear, take you into the system where William could easily arrange to adopt you. But something went wrong," Tyler guessed. Carol nodded. "According to what Sullivan told me later, there was confusion during the transition. Sarah was placed with emergency foster care, and then the social worker handling the case was transferred. The paperwork got lost in the system. William was furious," Sullivan added. "We had multiple people searching, but by then, your grandmother had filed for custody using her family connections. The trail went cold. Eleanor's chin lifted proudly. I had a friend in family services. When Carol disappeared, I knew something was terribly wrong. I pulled every string I had to find Sarah and bring her home where she belonged. And I spent the next 28 years in that house by the lake, Carol concluded. At first, Sullivan told me it was temporary, just until they found Sarah and completed the adoption. Then it became about my unstable mental state. Eventually, it was simply the status quo. Sarah tried to process everything she was hearing. The truth was more complex than she had imagined. Not a simple tale of villainy, but a tragedy of obsession, pride, and power unchecked. "So what now?" she finally asked. Tyler, who had been listening intently, straightened. "We have options. Legal action would expose everything, bring justice but also publicity. Or we could approach this privately. William is dying. He wants to make amends." "Amends?" Eleanor scoffed. "What could possibly make up for what he's done?" "Nothing," Carol acknowledged. "But revenge won't restore the years I've lost. What I want now is peace. A chance to rebuild my life, to know my daughter, to be a family again." A notification chimed on Tyler's phone. He checked it, his expression turning grave. "It's the mansion. Uncle William's condition has deteriorated significantly. The doctors don't expect him to last the night." Sullivan looked up. "Take me back to the house," he said, an unexpected note of urgency in his voice. "William shouldn't die alone. After what you've done, why should we care what you want?" Eleanor demanded. "It's not for me," Sullivan replied, his typical coldness briefly giving way to something almost human. "For 30 years, I've been William's right hand. Whatever his flaws, whatever crimes he committed, he deserves to have someone who knew the whole man present at the end." A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, Carol spoke. "Take him," she said softly. "And Sarah, go with them." Sarah stared at her mother in shock. "What? Why would I go?" "Because William Thornton owes you answers that only he can give," Carol explained. "And because forgiveness, even for the unforgivable, might free you in ways that hatred never can." Sarah looked between her mother and grandmother, conflict evident on her face. After a moment, she nodded. "Okay, I'll go, but I'm coming right back to you." Carol touched her daughter's cheek. "I've waited 28 years. A few more hours won't matter. I'll be right here when you return." As Sarah prepared to leave with Tyler, Ernest, and a still-bound Sullivan, she embraced her mother one last time, inhaling the unfamiliar scent that she hoped would soon become as familiar as her own. "I love you," she whispered. "I've loved you every second of every day since you were born," Carol replied, her voice breaking. "And I'll be loving you long after William Thornton is nothing but a painful memory." The Thornton mansion stood silent as Sarah, Tyler, Ernest, and Sullivan arrived. Medical personnel moved through the hallways with hushed voices and solemn expressions. Mrs. Peterson met them at the door, her usually stern face softened by grief. "He's asking for you," she told Tyler, then noticed Sullivan. "And Mr. Sullivan as well." Her gaze lingered on Sarah. Confusion, evident. "Miss Wilson, what are you doing here?" "She needs to see him," Tyler explained simply. "It's important." Mrs. Peterson didn't question further, merely nodded and led them upstairs. The master bedroom had been transformed into a makeshift hospital room, with monitors beeping softly and medical equipment surrounding the massive four-poster bed. In its center, William Thornton lay still, his powerful frame diminished, his skin ashen. "Tyler," he whispered as they entered, his voice barely audible. "You came back." "Yes, Uncle." Tyler approached the bed, gesturing for Ernest to bring Sullivan forward. William's eyes widened slightly at the sight of his attorney and restraints. "Raymond, what have they done to you?" "Nothing I didn't deserve," Sullivan replied quietly. "We found her, William. Carol Caldwell is free." A complex emotion crossed William's face. Relief mingled with sorrow. "Good," he breathed. "That's good." His gaze shifted, finding Sarah standing near the doorway. "Come closer," he beckoned. "Let me see you properly." Sarah hesitated, then approached the bed. The man who had orchestrated her mother's imprisonment, who had worn her mother's ring for decades, now lay helpless before her. She had imagined this confrontation countless times on the drive back to Chicago, rehearsing accusations and demands for explanations. but facing William's mortality, her prepared words evaporated. "You have questions," William said, seeing her struggle. "Ask them. I owe you that much." "Why?" The single word contained a lifetime of pain. "Why did you do it?" William closed his eyes briefly. "The simple answer is obsession. I couldn't bear losing her. And when she told me the child, you, weren't mine, something broke inside me." He looked at Sarah directly. "But that's not the full truth. The deeper answer is that I've spent my life controlling everything around me. People, buildings, entire city blocks, all bent to my will. Carol was the one thing I couldn't control, and it drove me mad. So you imprisoned her for 28 years. Sarah's voice trembled with anger. "It began as temporary," William explained weakly. "A few months at most until the adoption was arranged. When that failed, when you disappeared into the system," he trailed off, coughing. "Sullivan convinced me Carol was unstable, that releasing her would endanger the company, my reputation, and you believed him." "I believed what I wanted to believe," William admitted. "The truth was too painful to face." Sullivan shifted uncomfortably in his restraints. "You're making me the villain, William. We made these decisions together." "No, Raymond. I was weak, and you exploited that weakness to increase your power in the company." William turned back to Sarah. "None of this excuses what I did. I destroyed 3 lives. Carol's, yours, and my own. There's no forgiveness possible for such a thing." "Then why tell me all this now?" Sarah asked. "What do you expect from me?" William gestured weakly toward the nightstand. "Open the drawer." Sarah complied, finding an envelope inside. Her name was written on it in a shaky hand. "My will," William explained. "Signed yesterday before my stroke. Sullivan doesn't know the contents." Sarah opened the envelope and scanned the document, her eyes widening as she read. "You're leaving me the mansion," she said incredulously. "Why would I want anything from you?" William's lips curved in a ghost of a smile. "Not just the mansion, the foundation it will become," read the letter. Beneath the legal document lay a handwritten note. "Sarah, I cannot undo the damage I've caused, nor would I insult you by asking forgiveness. Instead, I offer what remains of my life's work, not as compensation, but as transformation. The Thornton Mansion and $50 million from my estate will establish the Caldwell Foundation for Missing Women and Children. This organization will help reunite families torn apart by circumstances like yours, fund advocacy for better missing persons legislation, and provide support for those rebuilding their lives after trauma. I do not expect this to redeem me. Some sins are beyond redemption, but perhaps you can transform this place of secrets and silence into one of healing and reunion. The emerald ring your mother wore belonged to my grandmother. The initials CC stand for constant courage, a quality I lacked, but which you and your mother possess in abundance. William Thornton." Sarah lowered the letter, stunned. "You're serious about this?" "Deadly," William confirmed, a hint of his old dry humor showing through. "Sullivan and the board will fight it, of course, but Tyler has my power of attorney now. He'll ensure my wishes are carried out." Tyler nodded solemnly. "I give you my word." Sullivan strained against his restraints. "William, you can't do this. The family legacy is tainted by what I did." William cut him off. "This is my attempt to salvage something meaningful from the wreckage." A nurse entered, checking William's vital signs with concern. "His blood pressure is dropping," she murmured to Tyler. "He needs rest." William gestured weakly for Sarah to come closer. When she reluctantly leaned in, he whispered, "I kept the ring as penance. Every time I looked at it, I remembered what I destroyed. Now it's returned to its rightful owner." "Why tell me all this?" Sarah asked. "Why not take your secrets to the grave?" "Because secrets killed what was good in me," William replied, his voice fading. "Don't let them poison your reunion with your mother. Truth, however painful, is the only foundation for healing." His eyes drifted closed, the monitors beside him beeping more slowly. The nurse moved in, adjusting medications and checking readings. "You should go," she advised them gently. "He's slipping away." In the hallway outside, Ernest took charge of Sullivan, leading him away to settle matters with the security team. Tyler remained with Sarah, who stood silent, processing all she had learned. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. I don't know, she answered honestly. How do you feel when your lifelong villain turns out to be just a broken man? Conflicted, Tyler suggested. Something can be both a tragedy and a crime. Sarah nodded slowly. I need to get back to my mother. I'll drive you, Tyler offered, after I make arrangements here. By dawn, news came that William Thornton had passed away peacefully in his sleep. The empire he had built would continue under Tyler's guidance. But the man himself was gone, leaving behind a complex legacy of power, pain, and unexpected redemption. At Eleanor's house, Carol received the news with quiet contemplation. So it's over, she said simply. In some ways, Sarah replied, sitting beside her mother on the porch swing where they had talked through the night. In others, it's just beginning. 3 days later, as Chicago newspapers ran headlines about William Thornton's death and the surprising terms of his will, Sarah, Carol, and Eleanor visited the mansion together. Standing in the grand foyer, Carol looked around at the opulent surroundings that had cost her 28 years of freedom. So much cold beauty, she observed. No wonder he was lonely enough to become obsessed. What should we do with it? Sarah asked. We could sell it, use the money for the foundation, but find a different building. Carol shook her head. No, William was right about one thing. Transformation is more powerful than destruction. This place of pain should become a place of healing. Over the following months, the Thornton mansion underwent a metamorphosis. The imposing gates were removed, the security systems dismantled, where once armed guards had patrolled. Now social workers and counselors walked the grounds. The study where William had plotted became a resource library, and his private quarters transformed into a communal space for support groups. In the fall, the Caldwell Foundation officially opened its doors. Carol, having spent months in therapy addressing her trauma, stood beside her daughter and mother to cut the ribbon. The emerald ring gleamed on her finger, reclaimed. Like her life, from the man who had tried to own both, from silence to voices, from isolation to community, from secrets to truth, Carol declared to the assembled crowd. That is the journey we honor today. Later, as mother and daughter walked through a nearby park, enjoying the simple freedom of being together in the open air, Sarah asked the question that had lingered in her mind. Do you think you'll ever forgive him? Carol considered this, watching leaves spiral down from autumn trees. Forgiveness isn't a destination you reach once and forever, she said thoughtfully. It's a path you walk daily, sometimes moving forward, sometimes slipping back. She touched the emerald ring, now a symbol of her resilience rather than her captivity. What matters isn't whether William Thornton earned forgiveness. What matters is that I reclaimed my right to choose, to freely give it or withhold it. That choice, more than anything, is what he stole from me all those years. Sarah nodded, understanding. As they continued their walk, arm in arm, the emerald caught the afternoon sunlight, flashing green fire, no longer a reflection of possession, but of constant courage, hard won, and never to be surrendered again.